Now, our next guest is a really special case of just this. And when you look back at the COVID era and what happened with COVID, there were some companies that really prospered with that breakdown of normal human interactivity and interaction over the 2+ years of the pandemic. And also, in mobile, there are certain companies that have become loved by mobile users the world over. Our next guest is a real game changer and someone with a fantastic knowledge of what makes mobile users tick and what makes mobile users use their devices more and more. He comes from Stockholm in Sweden, and he started his career as a co-founder of a games company in Sweden, where he stayed for 10 years. And then in 2011, he decided to join King Games, very important company. He's had a long history in esports game creation, so esports on a mobile, and the development since 2005. Deeply experienced, and an experience in fully managed services for customer and partner support, and also community management, because communities are important, and gaming networks. His great technical knowledge and grasp of business has really helped reinforce the company that he now leads. He's really somebody with great knowledge who we will hear about in this session, and he grew from the Senior Vice President of the Candy Crush Saga franchise and the Central Studios management that develops the games, and was the Chief Development Officer. And he worked on and witnessed the launch of Candy Crush Saga and saw the company grow from 100 people to today of having over 2,000 employees working at the company. He's integral in the development of everything to do at King. And just to give you some idea of the business substance of the company, just in 2021, and this is not stopping, it's continuing to move, they had over $1 billion in annual operating income. So ladies and gentlemen, my name is Ralph Simon, but I want to introduce you to someone really special. This is the president and the chief and the head of King Games and Candy Crush Saga. Would you please welcome to the Mobile World Congress stage, Mr. Tjodolf Sommestad. Tjodolf, welcome. Tjodolf, so great to see you here.
Good morning. Here at Mobile World Congress, we are surrounded by people that are launching cutting-edge new products. I have nothing to launch this year. But I am here to talk to you about innovation, new behaviors for new realities. But the most cutting-edge thing that I have for you is something that we launched a decade ago, Candy Crush Saga. And in a mobile world, 10 years ago, it's almost prehistoric. And yet for me, some of the most exciting innovation that you'll see today is in this game. And it's just celebrated its 10th birthday. When we launched it, we hit on something simple, but really good. So a quick show of hands here. Who has ever played Candy Crush? There's quite a few of you. So for those who haven't, it's what we call a match-3 puzzle game. And you solve each level by matching colored candies to clear them. And you play levels to progress in the saga, and then you get to a new level, and every level brings some new twist or difficult challenge. Candy started as a web game. Then we launched on Facebook when that was the hot destination for casual games. Then smartphones started taking off shortly after that. And we quickly assembled a team to launch Candy Crush on mobile in 2012. And the mobile game, it really took off, and it skyrocketed through the charts. And we have loved and really nurtured this game in a changing world. Today, it's bigger than ever. It's the top grossing mobile franchise in the US for 22 consecutive quarters. We have 3 billion downloads and counting. And as you can tell, I'm very proud of that. But as I prepare to talk to you today, I thought, this audience, they know a lot about mobile and innovation. What can I tell them? Well, I'm hoping that the things that might surprise you are the same things that have surprised me over the years. So what are the lessons that we have learned along the way as the world has changed around us? Well, there are many, of course, but I picked out just a few. First, how we realized we had to think differently about what success meant for our games. Second, how we learned to become a group of obsessive detail people. And third, how we discovered over time the value of purpose. Not just a slogan, but a key part for how we plan, how we organize ourselves, and what inspires us. Purpose, it's an important part of the story. And I will come back to it, but let me explain what I mean just for a moment. Making the world playful. That's how we express our purpose. That's how we talk about what we do and why we do it. And it is simple, to give as many people as we can a few minutes of play and fun in their day. That is something that we all need. And that phrase has become very important for us at King. But I'll come back to that later. How do you picture success for your business? I'm sure there will be a lot of different answers in this room. 10 years ago, we thought success was about finding the next big thing. And obviously, that meant a new thing, right? Gaming, it was all about the launch cycle. We launched a new game, it peaked, and it started declining. And then we launched a new game, always hoping for a hit. Everybody knew this was how it worked. And then one day, we discovered that it wasn't entirely true, or it didn't have to be true. Maybe it's not the only way to succeed. How did we learn that? Well, we launched Candy Crush Saga in November 2012. It was a huge hit, a phenomenon. Everyone was excited. But did we ever think that we would have a 10th birthday party with the game still growing and setting new records? No. We did what everyone in the industry did. We started looking for the next big thing. So, we launched Candy Crush Saga in 2014 as a sister title. And then we launched Candy Crush Jelly Saga in 2015. And they did well. They were hit games. But the original Candy Crush Saga game was still more popular. And then we launched a fourth title, Candy Crush Friends Saga. And I think around this time, we started to figure out what was going on. For this game, we had spent 3 years developing it, and we spent a lot of money on launching it. And it didn't take us more than a few months to reach 50 million downloads. And I remember that we had a review meeting, a winter day in a cold Stockholm, where we're based. And we were pleased. We had had a good launch. But when we dug a bit deeper, we found that half of the return on the marketing investment was actually an increase in downloads and activity in the original Candy Crush Saga. So people, they were apparently thinking that trying the new game and then, yeah, that was fun. But you know what? I loved Candy Crush. I'll go back and play the original. All that time and money. We were staring at the numbers, and we realized that if we had concentrated instead on improving Candy Crush Saga, where we had a massive and highly engaged player base, we could have reached those 50 million players on the first day. And we could also have saved ourselves a lot of marketing money. So we should find a way to bring that innovation to our games, where the players are playing today. And that was a tough moment for us, but it was an important one. So we began to think about innovation a bit differently. And that didn't make life easier. It didn't mean less innovation. Actually, quite the opposite. Players, they want to be surprised and delighted every time they open the app. You fight every day for their attention. And that was our challenge. And we started producing lots of new content. So Candy Crush Saga, it launched with 65 levels. Today, there are more than 13,000 levels in the game. And we'll add more new levels every week. But more than that, when we had a great idea of a new concept, we began to ask ourselves, where will this have the most impact? Can we go where the players are? Can we build it into Candy Crush? So I'll give you a good example. We saw and heard from many players that they wanted to compete with each other more to figure out who's actually the best Candy Crush player. And in the past, we probably would have built an experience like that into a new game. But instead, we started imagining a live, time-limited competition within the original Candy Crush Saga. And we launched that as Candy Crush All-Stars in the UK in 2020, and in the following year in the US, and last year we launched Candy Cup as a global competition. They were massively popular, millions of players across the world competing to figure out who's the best player. And this year we're going to launch a third iteration of that with Candy Crush All-Stars in March this year. Each time it gets bigger and better. And if you can keep doing this, keep evolving your hit game so that it stays relevant, then you can keep growing product for years. And more than that, you can have the chance to break the boundaries and redefine the market and potentially the industry. So that's how we learned how to redefine how we think about the next big thing. And also to keep focus on what we already had, looking for the next small improvement. And that brings me to the second lesson that we learned, the power of obsessing with detail. The theme of this session is supposed to be behaviors to like a new post-pandemic reality. And lockdown, it did come along, and it changed the world. And for us, it meant, well, actually, almost nothing changed. And I know that doesn't quite fit the narrative, but that's what we saw. So during lockdown, people played more mobile games. Yeah, there was some acceleration, but that was really at the margin. We were growing already. And most of the growth in gaming was in existing hit games. Players often turn to their familiar favorites. So we think that people who previously maybe played on their commute or in work meetings, maybe just played at home in the kitchen instead. It seems that need for downtime, just a few minutes of fun escapism, is timeless. So the twist for us at King is that innovation is not really driven by new behaviors. Candy Crush players, they enjoyed the game yesterday. They want to play again today, and they want to be delighted, and they want it to be a little bit better. And we had to obsess about making the game the best it possibly can be, in every way. And then tomorrow, we're going to have to do it again. And for me, that's all about the way we focus. And it's hard. It's one thing to innovate to solve a problem, sort of to meet the unmet need. But what if your product is great? What if it's been great for years and your sales are growing? What do you need to solve for then? How do you then set up a business to keep innovating? I would point to two things. So one is care and craft, and the other is how we maintain the right focus to keep making a hit game even better. And care and craft, it's really about gathering the right skills, setting up teams with the highest expectations, of attention to detail, to make what's already great even better. And focus, for me, it's about setting ourselves the right challenges. It's about setting up a team with a specific challenge to make that particular part of a game better, to use all their skills to make the world more playful. But success, it's also about building a culture where people can bring all sorts of expertise and experiences and lessons from outside and apply them to what you do. So software developers and game designers, yeah, but not just them. Different crafts and professional skills, different passions. It could be a passion for music, or a passion for art, or storytelling. It could be accessibility and inclusion. It could be the legal department. Let me give you some examples. I've sat in meetings where whole teams have focused on the detail of how the light shines on a candy shape in a new animation, the way the tile bounces, the sound it makes. And that's a result of fantastic talent, as well as rigorous data analysis, trying to make it more pleasing, more satisfying, chasing perfection. Last year, our teams revised the way we use colors in the game to make sure that players with the 10 most common forms of color blindness can enjoy Candy Crush. They can't differentiate the shades and the shapes because we want people to be able to play. People brought their passion for accessibility and they applied it to Candy Crush. And as part of our 10th anniversary celebrations, we gave the game a whole new soundtrack. We had a talented audio team made up of people including a classically trained musician who had worked on the Harry Potter films, and she partnered up with the original composer of the Candy soundtrack. And they worked with a full symphony orchestra at Abbey Road Studios in London. And here's the bit I love the most. The producers that were mixing the music, they listened on small mobile phone speakers and earphones, because that's how our players will hear it. And all this for a mobile puzzle game. And that sound team, they were originally formed to work on a new game. But we moved them to work on Candy and gave them that challenge. Make the sound better. Make the world more playful. This is the kind of care I'm talking about. With all that detail, you also need that focus. We had already learned that innovation didn't just mean launching new games. Now we came to realize that innovating an existing game can't just be adding more and more features. It's often about making the existing features better. So for example, we launched a lot of new levels. We launched 13,000 levels now. But we put just as much effort into improving the old ones. We constantly go back and rework the first 100 levels, so that a new player discovering Candy Crush today or tomorrow, we're making sure that their introduction is as good as we can make it based on our most recent learnings. All of this is great, but it does bring up a challenge around talent. And I know that attracting talent and keeping talent is an issue that's on a lot of our minds. A new game launches, they still get a lot of attention, but we're also focusing more innovation on existing games. So how do you keep people motivated? Part of that is having the resources to do great things, like our new soundtrack. Part of it is scale. It motivates people when their work will go live tomorrow in games that will be played by more than 200 million people in the coming month. I personally find that very exciting. But then not everyone cares about scale. But we found another thing that is important to us, and that is our purpose, that everyone can understand and get behind. And that brings me back to my final point, the power of purpose. Lots of businesses set a purpose. Some are pretty cool, some maybe a bit cheesy. But for us, it really is a rallying cry, making the world playful. That was always our challenge, right from the start. But I think in the last few years, we've really grown into that purpose. We've started to understand what it can do for us and how to pursue it better. Making the world playful. I think about it a lot. Our people, they post it in their LinkedIn posts, unprompted. It's a constant reminder of something important. And I know our games might not save the world, but they do bring happiness. And if you can make hundreds of millions of people happy, that is inspiring. And our purpose, it shapes the kind of games that we make. And the words here are important. Make the world playful. The whole world. Not one demographic or one continent. And if you want to do that, you need games that can appeal in every country, to different age groups and genders, and that points towards puzzle games like we do. Everyone loves them. They're universal. We are played on every continent, across age groups by slightly more women than men, but our purpose also helps to guide our decisions. And it is actually a theme that's been running through a lot of what I talked about today already. Why invest more in existing games? Because we can have a better impact, more impact, and make the world more playful that way. Why invest in adjusting the game for color blindness? Because we want everyone to have the opportunity to be playful. And while we are definitely a commercial business, occasionally we do something just because it will make the world more playful, and because we want to. At the start of lockdown, people were having a tough time. They needed playfulness more than ever. And we gave them unlimited lives in Candy Crush instead of staying with a daily limit. And I guess that didn't drive profit for us. But it was a tough time for many, and we think we made the world more playful as a result. And we got amazing feedback from our players. Our purpose can also be a useful test. If we're considering a change, choosing which bets to place, we ask, can it help make the world more playful? For example, when we see a new technology, can we use it to make the world more playful? Smartphones, they were transformative for us, as people could play on the move. But we didn't invest into VR so far, because right now, that's not where our players are. It's not the best way to make the world playful, because it's not a mass market product for casual gamers. Now, machine learning has got us really excited, because it can help us to achieve our purpose. It's a better tool for an old task. Understanding what our players want, and then shape the game accordingly. We can fine-tune our new levels more quickly, using bots to test them, as well as human testers. And that gives us speed and scale, both for new content and constantly improving what's out there already. And finally, a purpose like this can inspire in places you don't expect. Last year, our legal team needed to update our privacy policy. And instead of another long piece of prose with a tick box, they created a visual candy-style journey called Privacy Saga. It's a gaming map where you can learn your privacy rights with characters from our games, explaining each step, using graphics and simple language. Our legal team, they won awards for it. You've never seen them so happy. So our purpose have even made our lawyers a little bit playful. Now that's something. So I hope I've given you a sense of some of the things that Candy Crush has taught us over the first 10 years. And I'd like to leave you with a few questions about your own work. First, where can your innovation have the most impact? Is it finding the next big thing? Or is it focusing on the product that you already have today to make it even better? Second, do you obsess enough about the detail? Can you find ways for everyone to bring their different skills and passions and experiences to make the product better every day? And third, do you have the right purpose? Does it inspire people? Does it truly inspire you? And finally, for those of you that are wondering, I'm on level 3,927. I have almost 10,000 levels to go. I wish you all success in the year ahead. And remember, take some time out to be playful.
That was great. We know now what to do in our time, in our spare time. Thank you so much. Tjodolf, very good to have you with us on the stage. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is really an interesting thing. Of course, many of you have played Candy Crush Saga, but hearing how the mechanics of it to put these things together and the way that you change people's perceptions about a game, about mobile usage, also ties in with something that we are going to do for our next session. And just before we start the next session, I'd just like to say, in our next session that starts at 12 o'clock, there's going to be a world first from this stage of the introduction that everybody should be aware of. It's the world's first 3D mobile metaverse. But more on that later.